It was not an easy run of games for them, but definitely they got a victory. And of course, relegated a newly promoted side, Leicester City, they defeated Bournemouth by a goal to nil. But when we go straight to other centres, Espanyol, they defeated Mallorca by 2-1. Presently, Getafe are playing out a 1-1 draw against Osasuna, and in Germany, Bayern never loses. When I talk about that, I mean Bayer Leverkusen. Well, they raised into a 2-goal lead, but eventually they surrendered their lead as they were held to a 2-2 draw by Austin Kell. They are in the German Bundesliga, and Borussia Dortmund, well, they lost to the hands of Union Berlin, also in Germany. Wolfsburg, they defeated VfL Bochum by 3-1, and Freiburg, they defeated Werder Bremen by 1-0. But, of course, guys, I will start straight from the English Premier League, where we'll talk about everything that has happened in the 3 p.m. kickoff, and then we'll take a look at the lineup of the game. It's set to go down by 5:30. That's Everton against the Newcastle. So joining me, I have Toby that's on my left, and of course the gentleman also that's on my right is also joining me on the show. So definitely let's start straight from the English Premier League games that went down by 3 p.m. Which of the games was the more interesting to you from the run of games that went down by 3 p.m. there in the English Premier League? Good evening, guys.
Yeah, good evening, Ibadan, good evening, SAMIES, and good evening, the fans of 32 FM. From the 3 p.m. kickoff games that went down, I would say Brentford versus Wolverhampton Wanderers stood out for me. 8 goals in that match, 6 goals in the first half, and it was a thrilling encounter.
Well, Seth also is by my right. Good evening, Seth.
Good evening, Samuel. Yeah, for me, I would take the match against Man City against Fulham as the highlight of today for me, because considering the fact that Fulham raced into an early lead and could have gotten it second before Man City does what they do, coming back and then winning the game 3-2. It was a very entertaining match to watch.
Well, being an entertaining match to watch, let's start straight from Manchester City, where definitely they defeated Fulham by 3-2. Well, from their lineup, we know that there is no Rodri, and then Kevin De Bruyne also is out of the game. Was out of the game. Remember, he also pulled out from the Belgian national team. But for that side, they were played out a 3-2. And a lot of people have also talked about that's the influence in which Rodri and perhaps De Bruyne they have within the folds of Manchester City. No Rodri again, and Manchester City, in fact, they've just struggled to keep just one clean sheet in the Premier League season.
Absolutely. Going by Manchester City's performances previous years, they've always been less effective when Rodri is out, but considering the fact that Rodri is out for the rest of the season, I guess Pep has to be saying to his players, guys, you need to step up your games now. We don't have Rodri, but we need to keep winning our games. Clean sheets might not be coming, but all that matters is 3 points at the end of the day.
Well, all that mattered. We saw a Fulham also. That's through Adama Traore. Well, this side that they scored the first goal, Andres Pereira was the one who scored the first goal in that encounter, but they were unable to hold that for long. 𝐿 equalized for them, and right after the restart, 𝐿 got his brace also during the course of the match before Jeremy Doku will put the icing on the cake of the game that actually set them aside from their opponents. But then, Traore, we were complaining about him playing the entirety of the 90 minutes in that encounter, and considering the chances in which he missed during the course of 90 minutes. Marco Silva, what do you think actually was wrong with Marco Silva in his decision-making to still keep Adama Traore on the field of play?
I was particularly appalled by the performances of Traore today, considering the fact that he missed a hat-trick of chances. I mean, chances where good players should have slot the ball into the net and killed off the game once and for all. But I was even more so appalled by the decision of Marco Silva leaving Adama Traore to play the whole 90 minutes. But looking at the coach's perspective, I guess what he's thinking in his head is, okay, if this player can be getting into these positions, if he can be making these runs, being a threat to the backline, perhaps I should just leave him. If he gets more chances, eventually he's going to put one at the back of the net. Maybe that is why he eventually opted to leave him for that long.
Leaving him for that long, I think that also maybe didn't pay off for him, but Muniz came off the bench also to get that consolation, one more consolation goal for Fulham in the course of that encounter. But straight to the other game, we still have a game going on live that's in the Spanish La Liga. It is still 1-1 between those teams. That's Getafe and Osasuna. But Toby, that's on my left, he spoke about Brentford against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Well, Gary O'Neill and his side, they are bottom of the English Premier League table. They lost today by 5-3. In the first half, we saw 6 goals, and in the second half, we saw how many goals? That's just 3. We saw 2 goals in the second half. But for Brentford, now the pace in which they've set this season, at least getting a goal in almost every first 5 minutes of the English Premier League season. How would you say that that's Thomas Frank has set up Brentford with the absence of that's Gwan Wissa, and of course remember that they let go of Ivan Toney during the course of the summer transfer window.
You recall Ivan Toney missed most part of the season last season when he was banned for betting, and now look at them, and they were able to cope, and they did well without Ivan Toney. I think he has been able to call the team together. We can do this without this person. We are a team. We don't have to depend on a player before we can do very well. And now they've learned from that. They've done very well. And you will shout out to Mbeumo. He has really stood up and said, okay, we can do this. We are one. Then he has really stepped up to the task, and he has been doing well for the team. Thomas Frank, in real sense, he has been doing well for Brentford. And for Wolverhampton Wanderers, in this game, they were poor in the first half, but in the second half, start of the second half, they were doing well, but the damage had already been done. And now in the Premier League, they've conceded 21 goals and scored only 9 points, leaving them locked at the bottom with just 1 point.
Well, 1 point for Wolverhampton Wanderers this season. Well, definitely, I think nobody would have expected that to be of Wolverhampton Wanderers, even though they let go of some of their players. But then Arsenal, that's one of the title contenders for the English Premier League season. They survived the scare in that game also against Southampton, where Cameron Archer scored the first goal right after the restart of the second half. That's in that encounter. But then goals from Kai Havertz, Gabriel Martinelli, who came off the bench also, and Bukayo Saka, well, gave Arsenal the maximum 3 points to continue their unbeaten run to the English Premier League season. What would you say that Arsenal, and of course getting their goals, or maybe can you say that Arsenal were a bit laid back playing against the Southampton, because we saw them during the first half, they were not all gas out in that encounter?
Oh, well, Arteta decided to rotate his team today, benching the likes of Martinelli, benching the likes of Trossard, benching the likes of not starting Merino as well. So I feel that's had a part to play, because when you watch the first half and you see the way Sterling played, the way Gabriel Jesus played in that first half, you'll be like, oh no, this player should actually not be starting matches for Arsenal, because they were well below par. If it were to be Trossard or Martinelli that were in those positions in the first half, probably they would have gotten their lead since the first half. But second half, Southampton did well to come out of their blocks and get the first goal. But at the end of the day, they had themselves to blame with some really woeful defending to get Arsenal back into the game. But all in all, Arteta's team are still on a roll, doing what they know how to do best, winning games and getting the points in at this early stage of the season. I guess they are still unbeaten thus far in the Premier League this season.
Yeah, of course, Arsenal Football Club, but they are unbeaten in the English Premier League alongside Manchester City. But where do they stand? You could tell that Liverpool, whom of course won the early kickoff against Crystal Palace, a goal from Diogo Jota early in that encounter, put them 18 points with just 2 goals conceded. And for Manchester City, they are second with 17 points alongside Arsenal Football Club, who also they have 17 points. Those are the 2 teams unbeaten, and remember they went toe-to-toe last season there in the English Premier League season. But now, before we talk about the newly promoted side, Leicester City, whom of course won their game today against Bournemouth. Let's go back to the early kickoff, where that's Crystal Palace. They were unable to at least get a goal, despite the numerous chances in which they had in that encounter against the Liverpool Football Club. Well, Toby, Liverpool will continue with their great run to the season. Remember, they have just one defeat. They've scored 13 goals. They've conceded twice in this English Premier League season, and you could tell that they are still the only English Premier League side to keep a clean sheet in the first half, yet to concede a goal in the first half of the English Premier League season. They defeated Crystal Palace by a goal to nil. What statement is the team and Ancelotti given to the rest of the English Premier League sides, especially Arsenal and Manchester City?
I think they are just telling the Premier League that they are still a team to contend with in the Premier League. Ancelotti just picked up right from where Jurgen Klopp left Liverpool. I was speaking with someone over last week, and he was like, he picked up a very good team. And I said to him, he is a very good manager. The fact that he picked up a good team does not mean the team should do well. It's because he is a good manager also. Look at them, 6 clean sheets, 7 games, and they've been doing really fine. The fact that the players are really stepping up and they're like, we want to play for this man, they are also doing well for themselves. We look at the game, Crystal Palace losing so many chances. Eze losing one-on-one with the goalkeeper also. So it all boils down to the fact that when you get your chances, you convert them. That's what the Liverpool did. They got their very good chance. They converted it, and they all stepped up, defended very well, and they went away with the 3 points, which at the end of the game, it's only what mattered. And the way they've been playing also, they've been dominated games, not just winning games, dominating, scoring, and defending very well. The Premier League in the Premier League, attack will win you game, but defense will also win you the Premier League, like Sir Alex Ferguson once said.
Well, like Sir Alex Ferguson said. But Crystal Palace, they let go of Michael Olise during the course of the summer transfer window. Jordan Ayew and the host of some other players, Joachim Anderson, one of those players. But then they've not fared well. Also, this season they are 18th without a win, 4 defeats, 3 draws in the English Premier League this season, and that's 3 points. For that's Crystal Palace. What would you say also is for Crystal Palace, whom of course towards the end of last season we saw Gianfilippo Mateta getting the goals for this team, and of course firing on all cylinders, 13 goals in as many games towards the end of last season. But this season he has a brace for himself though, but that was that has been far from the level in which we saw Crystal Palace last season.
So what I would say about Crystal Palace form this season is basically the fact that their style of play has not exactly changed from what it were last season, but the key factor that is militating against them this season has been that their attackers just seems not to know how to find the back of the net any longer. We watched the match against Liverpool earlier today, where they missed chances. Especially Eze has been the chief culprit this season thus far. So what Oliver Glasner has to do is look for a way to get his attackers firing on all cylinders again. You mentioned a certain Mateta who scored 19 Premier League goals last season, and especially towards the end of the season, he was red hot, and everything he touches turns to goals and gold and all. But this season he has been underperforming, and the major thing for Oliver to take note of is, how do I get my attackers bearing this chance? You also remember the match against Manchester United. They had chances to have won that game against them. Fine, Man United also had their chances, but Crystal Palace also had chances to have to have won the game, but they were not as clinical as they used to be. So that's the major reason why they are 18th at the moment and not mid-table like they used to be.
Well, that's talking about Leicester City. They also got their first victory of the English Premier League season. They defeated Bournemouth by a goal to nil. But Toby still wants to say something about Crystal Palace playing against their game earlier today, or what their run of form this season has been. Toby.
Yeah, you don't sell when in the transfer window. Transfer window is meant for you to strengthen your team, pursue out the players that are not up to par, and then re-equip yourself. Now look at in the case of Crystal Palace. Arguably, Michael Olise was their best player last season, 10 goals if I'm not mistaken. And I would say they've not exactly replaced him in the transfer window. Even though they brought in Eddie Nketiah, who scored 5 goals for Arsenal in the Premier League last season.
There is a Daichi commander in the squad.
There's even an Ismail Assar in the squad also that scored like 4 goals, I think, for Olympique Marseille in the French League on last season. Now, of all these guys they've brought in, have they been the perfect replacement for the guy they sold to Bayern Munich? 10 goals is scored for them. The 2 guys they brought in from Olympique Marseille and Arsenal have scored 12 goals combined last season. I think that's not exactly a good thing for them as a team.
Well, that's not a good team for them. But while we go on this break, we will come back definitely to talk about Leicester City, whom, of course, defeated Bournemouth earlier today by a 1-0. And then we just talk about West Ham also defeating Ipswich Town. And the last game in the English Premier League, Everton, Jordan Pickford against Newcastle, who definitely would be going for a victory in that encounter. The program returns right after this time out.
Stay tuned to 32 FM 94.9.
Of rice no get the new Big Bull holographic seal?
Not true.
Introducing the Big Bull holographic seal tape, your favorite authentic Big Bull rice, 50 kg and 25 kg. Now with holographic seal tape. This is to ensure you get the premium product from Big Bull rice. Do not buy if the holographic seal tape is not on the bag or is broken. Big Bull rice, tasty rice, nourished you.
Go for gold, Terra Gold Cube. Amazing seasoning cube. So when you're cooking your delicious meals, don't compromise. Go for gold. Go for gold.
Rich, consistent taste for cooking mouth-watering soups, stews, and jollof. Choose wisely. Choose Gold. Terra Gold Seasoning Cube.
1 cube. Endless possibilities. Terra Gold.
Golden Terra Oil ó máa ń ran ìyá lọ́wọ́ láti dá gbogbo ìfẹ́ rẹ̀ sínú oúnjẹ tó dùn tó ṣara lóore tó ṣe fún gbogbo ẹbí rẹ̀. Golden Terra Oil for pure love.
ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ ìkànnì ìfẹ́ yín ẹ ṣé dáadáa lẹ́wà ǹjẹ́ ẹ ti gbọ́ àbẹ́ ẹ ti já sí wípé àwọn ètò tuntun bọ̀ wá fún yín láti jàǹfààní níkànnì adẹ́rìn-pòṣónú 32 FM 94.9 ẹ ti béèrè fún a sì ṣetán láti fi fún yín gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìbéèrè yín àti ṣàfikún àsìkò tá a fi ń gbóhùnsáfẹ́fẹ́ pẹ̀lú àfikún wákàtí 3 lójoojúmọ́ ọjọ́ kìíní oṣù kẹwàá ọdún yìí la ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ láàrin aago 1 òru sí 3 àdájí ní gbogbo ọjọ́ ajé sí ọjọ́ Sunday ẹ gbádùn àwọn ètò náà gẹ́gẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ti ń gbádùn wa látẹ̀yìnwá àgbé wọn kalẹ̀ fún ìgbáládùn yín ẹ fi sọ́kàn ẹ mọ́ gbàgbé ẹ kú ojú lọ́nà o.
ṣé ilé ni dúkìá tó fẹ́ tàbí ilẹ̀ tó sì wọ́ láti polówó rẹ̀ lórí rédíò láì ṣe wàhálà kankan gbọ́ mi ìwọ gan-an ni àǹfààní bàǹtàbàǹtà yìí wà fún ìkànnì yín tẹ́ fẹ́ bí ojú ni 32 FM 94.9 Ìbàdàn àti iléeṣẹ́ atalétalẹ̀ tó ló kọrin láwùjọ Soft Sands Property lójúmọ̀ gbé àǹfààní tí ò wọ́pọ̀ yìí kalẹ̀ kì í ṣeré o à ń fi àsìkò yìí ké sí ẹni fẹ́ talétalẹ̀ pẹ̀lú ìwé tó múnádóko láti wá polówó rẹ̀ lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́ ká sì bá ta lórí rédíò ní kíá ẹ̀rí pé yìí pọ̀ àǹfààní àti bá yín ta ilé àbí ilẹ̀ yín lórí rédíò ní kíá láìláyín lò oògùn kankan ẹ̀yẹn sá ti kàn sí wa ojú ọgán ni dúkìá yín ó jẹ́ títà fún àtẹ̀ránṣẹ́ àbí ìpè
09164615000 àti 09115550055
tàbí www.softsandsproperty.com láti jẹ́ alábàápín àǹfààní yìí àdéhùn àti àsọtẹ́lẹ̀ wà o.
Soft Sand òrùlé fún tẹrú tọmọ.
gbogbo Ìbàdàn ẹ kú àmójúbà wàdà kẹ́ríkẹ́rí o. bí situation nàìjíríà bá sojú kokoko o nílò Spartacus comedy láti fi fọ́ọ̀tì ẹ̀. ọdún kẹwàá rèé tí rapping daddy ti ń múnú aráyé dùn the seed of Africa làkórí tọdún yìí ẹ̀wá rẹ́rìn àrín tàkìtì nígbà táwọn ọ̀jìnì adẹ́rìn pòṣónú bá ń da zigi bolẹ̀. Dr. Smile, Bash, BBO, Wòlíì Àgbà, Délé, Ozain, Kàmọ́, Bàbá Aláríyá, Obama, Kenzo àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ọjọ́ Sunday, October 6 gangan lóru òkìje inú gbọ̀ngàn MAF 21 lórí ring road ń Ìbàdàn máa sọ kutu wọ̀wọ̀. Bẹ̀rẹ̀ látago 3 ọ̀sán 3k lówó wọlé regular VIP 10k VVIP 50k ìjókòó ọlọ́lá ń bẹ nípele 250k 500k àti 1 million. Ó yá sáré yá mú tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì tirẹ̀ lórí 0703 137 3320 triple gbòòsà fáwọn alátìlẹyìn èjìká tí ò jẹ́ ká sóyè lọ́rùn Design Bricks Home and Properties You Fit Fly Malta Guinness Daddy Event ló pákéjì ẹ̀. Spartacus Comedy Season 10 The Seed of Africa Nigeria no go kill person I go la.
Wow, your baby is here. Congratulations!
Do not waste time. Put your baby to breast within the first 1 hour of delivery to give that first yellowish milk colostrum. Colostrum has all the important nutrients your baby needs to start a healthy life. Colostrum also helps to protect your baby against diseases. Remember, put your baby to breast within the first 1 hour of delivery. This message is from the Anrin Project or your state's Ministry of Health.
32 FM
94.9.
Welcome back to the pitch. You're on 3294.9 FM. Well, definitely, let me tell you, the game are going on there in the Italian Serie A. Well, Atlanta, they have found the back of the net in that game. Well, definitely, Ademola Lookman turning a provider in that encounter. Well, this man in contention to win the African Player of the Year. Redgay, is the goal scorer. But then for Ademola Lookman, I think we need to celebrate what belongs to us at this point in time. There has been that conversation who is going to win the African Player of the Year. Let's have a Nigerian win it back-to-back. Victor James Osimhen, who is not in contention to win it this year. Let's hope Ademola Lookman can achieve that for the national team and also as an individual honor for himself. So quickly, Leicester City defeated Bournemouth by a goal to nil. That was earlier today also there in the 3 p.m. kickoff for Facundo Bonanute and was the man who found the back of the net. And West Ham they defeated, Ipswich Town by 4-1. Who saw that coming? It is still some of those results in which we expect there in the English Premier League. But 5:30 kickoff game and Newcastle, definitely the Goodison Park are playing against Everton. Jordan Pickford, James Garner, James Tarkowski, Michael Caine, Ashley Young, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Aurel Mangala, Jack Harrison, Brett McNeil, who scored a bracer to get Everton their first victory that was last weekend. Aliman Daye. We also have Dominic Calvert-Lewin leaving the line. And for Newcastle, we have Avi Barnes, Anthony Gordon, Jacob Murphy. We also have Joel Litton, Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, Lewis Hall, Dan Bourne, Fabian Schär, Kieran Trippier, Nick Pope, all starting for Newcastle Football Club. So definitely, what do we expect from the game between Everton and Newcastle, considering the fact that Everton, they have just one win this season, and aside that they have surrendered victories this season, as even contracted there in their Carabao Cup game against Southampton. What do we expect from Everton against Newcastle?
Yeah, the game against Newcastle, Everton versus Newcastle. This is a Newcastle team without their top two strikers, Isak and Wilson, out with injuries. Now, look, they will be banking on Gordon and Avi Barnes to provide the goals for them against an Everton team that have not been good defensively also. And even going forward also, they've not been getting the goals. But they can only hope Dominic Calvert-Lewin will step up again. And Dwight McNeil from the brace in the last game he had, hopefully he will step up again and do what he's supposed to do.
Newcastle, they've been far from with the surprise this spring. That was 2 seasons ago. Also there in the English Premier League. Last season, they finished somewhat just not in the best of positions last season, and they were on the verge of qualifying for European places. But by hook or crook, they actually missed out. That was Manchester United doing. doing that for them by winning the English FA Cup and, of course, displacing them. But Newcastle, this season, like Toby said, they've missed their top 2 strikers. And also in their midfield, they had Sandro Tonali back. But that has still not given the team the identity in which they showed. That was 2 seasons ago, even though they got a draw against that was Manchester City last weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you that they've not gotten back their identity and have not hit the form they were in last 2 seasons when they were surprise packages. But at the same time, we have to look back at last season and we have to look at their team. They really suffered with so many injury crises last season. At some point, they had about 10 first-team players out of their squad for majority of the season. When one goes, another one comes. They were just alternating the whole injury scenario. And then this season, they've actually not done too badly. Considering the fact that if you win tonight, they go straight into the top 4. I mean, that's not a total bad form even this season. I mean, they played against the champions last week and they were able to get a draw from them. And considering the fact, like we've all been mentioning, that they are currently missing their 2 top strikers, and hopefully by the time these strikers get back and then they have their fully fit squad again back, and would see the Newcastle of 2 seasons ago.
Well, we'll see the Newcastle of 2 seasons ago. Let's hope that will be the case. But the game definitely has started between both sides, Everton against Newcastle. But before we leave the English Premier League tomorrow, it is Super Sunday. Well, who made it super? Maybe Aston Villa made it super because of the dominance in which they have shown now. And of course, for Manchester United, at this side, they have not been at their best selves. But at the end of the season, they find a way of winning trophies. That's since Erik ten Hag took over. And that has been the claim of Erik ten Hag also. Everywhere, I win 5 trophies in the last 6 years, or this or that. But later tomorrow, there in the English Premier League, we'll see Aston Villa face off against Manchester United by 2 p.m. That's the first kickoff, alongside Chelsea against Nottingham Forest. Aston Villa coming into that encounter on the back of their 1-0 victory over Bayern Munich there at the Villa Park through the course of the weekend. Manchester United, Sam Morodion was the man who definitely maybe put a dent into their game. Manchester United raised a 2-goal lead also in that encounter, but they surrendered that lead and, of course, played out a 3-3 draw. And a lot of people also are still blaming Harry Maguire for coming on to even score. And that's what gave Manchester United maybe a point in that encounter. And so I start straight from set. And Aston Villa are facing off against Manchester United later tomorrow there in the English Premier League encounter. What does this game symbolize for both teams, both Aston Villa and Manchester United?
Oh, well, let me start off with Manchester United. It's simply a make or break football match for Erik ten Hag, and it is interesting to see how he's going to set up and tinker with the team, considering the fact that it could potentially be the last time he would lead out the Manchester United team out of the dressing room onto the pitch of play. And but I was reading before, I think earlier yesterday during the pre-match press conferences that coaches undertake. Emery was saying that, fine, there might be struggles in Manchester United and all, but they are determined to work even extra hard, more than they did to secure the 1-0 win against Bayern Munich in the midweek game in the Champions League. So Emery is still very much hungry to go out there and get 3 points against Manchester, and he's not planning to underrate them, thinking, they are also hungry to get points on the block and everything like that. He's out there to finish them off. Although personally, I pray he applies some leniency so that we can still see Ten Hag more in the Premier League, being a rival fan.
But now, Manchester United, for Andre Onana. Well, this man, he has been in poster for 53 games. He has conceded 95 goals. That's in his Manchester United career. Well, a lot of people also are still blaming him. But what would you fault Andre Onana for this season? And you won't take a look at the players on the field of play also and ask, what are these guys doing? Even the manager who has assembled them, what is he doing with Manchester United? We've seen the team. how complacent they've been in recent outings. Well, I think Seth, the answer something.
Yes, sir. Before Toby comes in, I just want to, at this point, I really want to be more critical of Erik ten Hag, because you cannot spend that much. I mean, you have been heavily backed up by the squad. Fine, you might still have your reservations as to, some of the players you wanted and you could not get. But of course, you cannot get all the players that you want in the transfer market. You're not the only team, bidding for players and all. But even at that, you've spent about £600 million or more.
Billion.
Exactly, over £500 million getting, players that you feel fit into identity. Going far back to getting your ex-players, Ajax, and, going back to your ex. I mean, that's what happens when people go back to their ex. Yeah? So that's on the lighter note. But I mean, you are trying to build a squad around your countrymen, getting Dutch players in and thinking, okay, fine, maybe they have the mentality to play my style of football. But at the same time, you're not getting the results on the pitch. So looking at it, I really do not see. And to be honest, I was very surprised to see that he even retained his job in the first place coming into the 2024-2025 season. I felt that they would have, given him the stick right from, last season. But of course, he won the FA Cup and he will always refer to that anytime they ask him. But Toby?
Yeah, one thing ahead of the game against Aston Villa tomorrow. Now, the thing about Man United is in the 2022-2023 season, when after their start after a UEFA game is they had 8 wins, 3 draws and 2 losses. Then the last season they had 3 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses in after every time they come after a European game. Now look at this season. They've had 1 European game, which they drew. They came back. They lost 3-0 to Spurs at home. Now they went to Porto again. They've drawn 3-3. Now they are coming back to face an Aston Villa team that just made a statement win against Bayern Munich, 1-0. Now, I don't think Man United stand a chance, to be honest. I understand, I get the fact that Emery was speaking so high of them. It was the same thing Porto manager did during the course of the week. Look at how it ended. But I'm telling you, Aston Villa versus Man United tomorrow, I don't think Man United stand a chance. And look at even the fact that Aston Villa just came back to the Premier League 5 years ago. They were on the verge of relegating in 2022 when Emery take over. And another fact is, Emery's first game as an Aston Villa manager was against Man United, which he won 1-0.
I think I could remember that. It's a Digny free kick.
And ever since then, they've been going up and up and up. And then look at how Man United have declined with even a larger budget. Tomorrow, I don't think Man United stand a chance against Aston Villa.
Well, in 9 games for Aston Villa this season, they've only lost once and they've drawn just once. But for Manchester United, in 10 games this season, losing, starting from the loss on the penalty shootout against Manchester City, to all that's defeats in that encounter. Manchester United, they have just 3 wins in those 10 games this season. But quickly, let's take a look at the head-to-head between these two sides also. Well, what we talk about their head-to-head, Manchester United were last victorious when these teams have faced off against each other. In fact, last season, Manchester United, I think they got the better of Aston Villa, both home and away.
Yes, they were in fact the only team to have beaten Aston Villa home and away last season.
Rasmus Højlund scored in both games and is back again.
So maybe
giving yourself hope. That's the thing. Even giving yourself hope.
So Toby, you thinking that that's your trump card?
I'm thinking it's back, and now we have in number 9 that we can actually.
What about your 9.5?
That was harsh.
We have a 9.5 that I've looked at sexy games, and so far
it's not sexy.
So far this season, and the only thing he has been able to do is play 1-2 quick football. Give him the pass, he lays it off, and then look at the guys he's playing with. The guys playing on his flanks are the kind of players that they just want a quick ball. They want to run. They want to go into the 18-yard box and do what they want to do, but which excludes scoring goals. Rashford and Garnacho. And so far, I'm just glad Rasmus Højlund is back, and hopefully they can capitalize on the fact that they have an actual number 9 that can score goals going into this game.
But then, if you're talking about that, there is a Jan Duran also who definitely is firing on all cylinders, coming off the bench in the world of football this season. Well, over the course of the week, he scored his 5th substitute goal against Bayern Munich. And this guy, in the English Premier League this season. I think he has been a force, the Colombian international. He has been a force to reckon with because that is the card in which Unai Emery holds at this point in time. I'm not getting the goals. Watkins is underperforming. Juan Duran, come on board, support, play on the flanks, be the point man. He would get the goals.
I'm just cooking up an imagination right now of Aston Villa raising into a 3-goal lead in the first half. Watkins gets in a brace, and the 65th minute, the Emery is bringing out Watkins and bringing in John Duran.
Then it compounds to their woes.
I would not be surprised if that happened because since the start of last season, United have conceded 2+ goals in 31 matches across all competitions, more than any Premier League clubs.
In fact, more than top clubs in top 5 European leagues.
Yeah, 3+ goals.
That is appalling.
So, and now we are facing.
In fact, they even took it away from the league. They even took it to the European
scene. 3+ goals. Now we have John Duran doing well for his team, facing Andrea Onana, facing Matthias de Ligt.
But let's talk about the players Manchester United acquired this season. We have the Moroccan international Mazraoui. We also have that Ugarte. We have Matthias de Ligt. Who else? I think these are the players Manchester United. Okay, Euro is
Zexi.
Okay, and Zexi. Well, these guys, that's a Euro, and Euro is not available. You can't blame him yet. You can't fault him for anything. But then, Zexi, we've seen him perform in the Premier League. He got Manchester United 3 points in his first game. That was
against Fulham.
That's on March day 1. Then we've seen
de Ligt.
Also
getting 3 points against
Manchester United, 3 points against Southampton. And then we talk about Mazraoui also, who has been a good player. Maybe he has not had his off day yet, but it's a collective effort. When we talk about results, it is down to the team. We also have seen Ugarte.
In and out of the team. But now Kobe Mainoo is out. Can't we see Ugarte also start alongside maybe Casemiro, or who the partnership is going to be for that's Erik ten Hag going into that encounter at the Villa Park tomorrow? Now, looking at the team, I want to believe that Man United have actually got some really interesting talents within their payroll, and I don't want to entirely fine. The players are underperforming, but I feel more of the problem United is suffering right now is down to the table of the manager. I won't be surprised if by the time, or when, I don't think it's a question of if right now, but a question of when Ten Hag will get sacked. When Ten Hag eventually gets sacked, and a new manager coming in, and this same sort of set of players start firing on all cylinders, I won't be surprised.
I've looked at an Erik ten Hag team, and I've questioned myself the way the other Man United fans must have been questioning an Erik ten Hag. What is his style? What is he playing? Look at the players he has brought in. He brought in, fine, he had an Harry Maguire, maybe was not really good defensively, but he's a good ball-playing defender. He brought in a goalkeeper who is arguably one of the best ball-playing goalkeepers also in world football right now. He has brought in Matthias de Ligt also, who is good with his feet. But has he gotten other players who can carry on with his style when they start ball from Onana to de Ligt? Who are the other players in the midfield that can go on with, okay, we want to play ball from the back. Now look at this. Ugarte also, I've not exactly seen what he has done in the team, even though he has been off and on the team. Casemiro has not been entirely in good form also. In that midfield, I could only point out Eriksen, who has done well, who has done fine this season for Manchester United. And I think Erik ten Hag needs to ask himself, what do I want to do? Last season, we saw him playing all the long balls to Garnacho and Rashford, getting them forward, just try and get the goals. But these guys are not even getting the goals. They've done that exactly this season. And now he goes down to the skipper also, who has been frustrated. He does not even know what the team is doing. He wants the team to do well. He wants to do well. Then look at himself also. He has not been doing good for himself. So I just feel everything is wrong for the team, from the manager to the players, and the players look uninterested playing for this manager.
Well, like someone said, Erik ten Hag's style of play is as defined as the shape of his head. That's just an aside. But but looking at it more critically, is it a case of the players not ready or not willing to go all out there and play for this manager any longer?
I think it's also about the fact that the players don't even know what to do when they get on the pitch. They just know they are coming out week in, week out because they need to come out. What is the manager telling them to do? What are they doing? I feel there is no instructions from the technical crew.
But then I think we should also believe that Eric Ten Hag was the one who actually has assembled these guys. If not all, maybe most of these guys.
Yes.
He assembled them, starting from Andre Onana, we have
Casemiro.
Mazurai, we have Casemiro, we have
Martinez.
Mason Mount, we have Martinez, we have Malacia, we have that Anthony. Well, he retained that Amadialu. We have Ojlund, we have
Zagzi
Zagzi.
also.
Look at this player.
I think he just.
It was the one his idea.
I think he
It's
just.
a philosophy
I think he
with the
just
team.
brings these players in. Like, okay, we have a transfer window. Let's bring these guys in. Let's just bring them in from all over the clubs. I don't think he knows what he even wants to do. He's just bringing them in because he wants to make the transfer, and he has been getting the backup from the top guns in the club. But what has he been doing with this team? Now he brought in. Let's say earlier, like I said earlier, he brought in the likes of the lead because let's say he wants to play. He wants to play from the back. Then he brought in Mason Mount. Mason Mount is not the kind of player you want to have in your team when you want to play from the back. Basically, the only thing he does best is because he presses high in front. Now, I was making this complaint earlier. Man United will play against Nottingham Forest, play against Ipswich on every low team. The team presses. They play against Liverpool, City, Chelsea, the top team, they press. Now, at the end of when you press against Tottenham, when you press against small teams, you press against big teams. It basically means you don't have a pattern of play. You don't know what you want to do. And it's really telling on the team because they are not doing well.
Well, Manchester United against Aston Villa. All eyes will be on that game at the Villa Park later tomorrow by 2 p.m. But quickly, just before we leave the talking points from the games that has gone down. Well, let's just start straight from the results. Espanyol also defeated Maracaibo in Spain by 2-1. Getafe and Osasuna, the game is ended and it is 1-1. Las Palmas and Celta Vigo, they played out a 0-0 draw. And then we have Real Valladolid also presently playing out against the Rayo Vallecano 0-0 it is. But Bayer Leverkusen, well, this season, they've also not been that team in which we saw last season. And they were held to a 2-2 draw. And that was earlier today. That's Austin Kell held them to a 2-2 draw. I saw you were happy at the point, but then that was because they raised into a 2-goal lead. But they eventually surrendered that 2-goal lead. Victor Boniface was on target once again for Bayer Leverkusen in that encounter.
Yeah, I think they played a lot of games last season because they were to the point of the last game of the season they were undefeated, which meant they played 38 games, but over 30 games in the Bundesliga, played the German Cup, played in the Europa League, and that's over 10 games. So I think they got in players who I would not say have played exactly that large amount of games ever before. So I think it goes down to the fact that they are tired, they have tired legs, and they've not maybe refreshed the team. So it's quite telling on them because you see them racing up, leading the game at some point, then surrendering the lead. So I think it's because they are tired and they are not really charged.
Well, with the game in hand, Bayern Munich would be in action later tomorrow. They have 13 points. Leverkusen at this point are fifth on the log. They have just 11 points. Well, they've conceded 12 goals also this season. But for Borussia Dortmund, they have 10 points, conceding 11 goals. Well, coming back into the game, they defeated Celtic 7-1 midweek, but they lost just to Union Berlin by 2-1 earlier today. Nouri Sahin. What can we say that maybe lack of experience is the word now for Nouri Sahin, and not having the guts to maybe use some players in some certain moment. 2-1 intended, but quickly let's take a look at the lineup for that's BVB, that's talking about Borussia Dortmund. Karim Adeyemi, of course, didn't start the game. We have Gittens, Julian Brandt, Gurusai, and Bayer, all starting off front, Pascal Gross and Emre Can. Redsin, Scotterback, Anton, and Kotu, where they go. Players also on the field of play. But then Abdoulaye Doucouré, well, he has found the back of the net for Everton Football Club against the Newcastle. But this is not about Everton scoring now. It is about Everton keeping their lead to get maximum 3 points in this game.
Now, I can only hope they keep up this 1-0 lead, but I think it's just 18 minutes and it's just the first half. I don't see.
Well,
okay.
The goal can still be chalked out for offside, but let's see what the decision will be from the video assistant referee after the center referee has given a goal. But then let's just talk about. Maybe we'll come back to that. But then for Borussia Dortmund and Nuri Sahin at this point, what can you say the problem is for Borussia Dortmund? They keep blowing hot and cold as the season goes by.
Yeah, that's it's just, I think it's lack of consistency yet, and Nuri Sahin is just trying to get hold of what's going on in the club and as a manager. So I hope as it goes on, he gets the time and the players he wants. So maybe he can eventually do well as a manager.
Maybe he can eventually do well as a manager. Going back to the Goodison Park, the goal has been chalked off for offside. That's Abdoulaye Doucouré. 0-0, 19 minutes into that game between Everton Football Club and Newcastle. While moving away from the German Bundesliga, still in Italy, Atlanta, they go into the first half. That's the second half with a one-goal advantage. One goal ahead of Genoa and Lecce. Lost to the hands of Udinese also earlier today. And in France, Saint-Etienne presently defeating Auxerre by 3-1. And that's some of the European top 5 league games that have gone down today. But then quickly before we talk about some other talking points, in the Nigeria Premier Football League, Lobby Stars defeated the Oluyole Warriors by a goal to nil. Back-to-back defeats now for 𝐿 Ogbote and the Oluyole Warriors. 1-0. They lost to the hands of Bendel Insurance there at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium. And then they had the Lafayette City Stadium also. They lost earlier today by a goal to nil to the hands of Lobby Stars. How is this season going on for the Oluyole Warriors?
I don't think it's a new thing saying Shooting Stars lose away from home. It's always been like that. Look at them last season. They were almost at the verge of getting a continental ticket. Then they surrendered a late win. I think away. Yes, it was away, but I can't recollect the team, which would have actually been their ticket to the continental stage. So them losing away from home is not something surprising. I'm going into the game, I knew the best they were going to get was a draw, but still I didn't rule out the chance that they were still going to lose. So I think the strength also has been at home, and even at the home games, it's always been a 1-0 victory. I think Benga Ogumbote needs to step up also before Ibadan people start talking, because they will eventually start talking.
Well, we know out of Ibadan citizens can talk. Bendel Insurance against the Kanami Warriors, the newly promoted side. They are presently playing out a 1-1 draw. They are at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium. But moving away from that, now let's talk about this issue. Paul Pogba, he is eyeing his return to the field of play. Well, according to the former, can we call him former Manchester United midfielder? I was about to say former French midfielder, but this man is still, we don't know if he's... Because while we check, I went through the social media page of the Les Bleus of France. He was celebrated after the news came back that Paul Pogba would resume back football actions next year. But according to the words of Pogba, he said his nightmare is over after a 4-year ban for a doping offense was reduced to 18 months following a successful appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sports, that's CAS. Well, at the age of 31, can he still come back to play that much of effective football that's in Europe, especially under Thiago Motta next year? Set.
Oh, well, personally, I am happy that Paul Pogba is back. He's one of the most talented midfielders of his generation, and I'm glad to see that he has had his ban reduced to 18 months. But talking about if he would be able to get his place back in Thiago Motta's team, oh well, it remains to be seen how much Thiago Motta fancies him, which I hugely doubt it would be. Thiago Motta would be much of a fan of Paul Pogba, considering the fact, or considering how Thiago Motta has gone about handling the squad this season. Telling some senior players to, you know what, your time here is done. You can leave the team. Explicitly told Szczesny, he told Chiesa that, look guys, you don't have a place in the, you might have been the best players for this team before now, but hey, I'm here, I'm the manager, and I'm telling you that I don't want you to play for me. So I feel it might be the same case for Pogba as well. So he might start, looking out, speaking to his agents. By the time he's back on the field of play, okay, what other options are there for me to look at? And
Thiago Motta has come out to say the decision still goes down to the board to make, but I think he also should also be given the chance to he should also have a say in this decision making. But he has said he has to go. It goes down to the board also. But I think Paul Pogba is still will still come out to be a fine player.
Absolutely.
I was about to ask, what has been your fond moment of Paul Pogba? Because I think since he made that switch from the old ladies Juventus back to Manchester United, he has been a shadow of himself. But what has been your fond moment of Paul Pogba?
I remember him scoring. Was it 2 goals? Against City in the Manchester derby, we were 2 goals down, and then we won 3-2. Alex Smalling, Smalling scored. Yeah, he scored 2 goals in that game. An header, and then I think he poked one in. Yeah, it was so good. I think that was the best performance, my best performance in the Man United shirt for him. But I think he has so many games. So at some point, he was top scorer in the Premier League under Jose Mourinho, taking the spot kicks, and he was really doing fine. But Pogba has been a player who has been, his career has had so many controversies with the way he left Man United in the first place under Sir Alex Ferguson, when it was reported that he already signed a contract with Juventus before the expiration of his contract with Man United. He left, then he did well with Juventus, then he came back under Jose Mourinho, then with a player that scored 76 career goals as central midfielder and 96 assists. I think one World Cup, he has done good for himself, but I just hope he can bounce back. And there is rumors saying he is likely to start again in the MLS, but I think we just wait a match when he eventually makes his return.
Well, let's wait until next year when Paul Pogba makes his return. But just before we leave, also Kevin De Bruyne, he was opted out from the Red Devils of Belgium squad that's ahead of the international window set to begin later tomorrow. The international window is going to be open for all the players to travel. That's tomorrow. But Kevin De Bruyne on Monday, whom we saw in the stands for the game against Fulham. Well, he pulled out, and there has been lots of talks from Kevin De Bruyne also to the rest of his teammates within the national team. Do you see it as one of the reasons also in which Kevin De Bruyne has asked to be excused? We know that Thibaut Courtois came out point blank, and he was blunt with it, saying that he can't work under Domenico Tedesco within the foot of the Belgian national team. He won't make a return there. He won't honor the call till Domenico Tedesco leaves. But for Kevin De Bruyne, who is the captain of the side, deciding to opt out. I know there are talks about his fitness level. He has requested to be fit, not wanting to play all the games, even in the world of football this year, which definitely has been the talk also amongst all the players, considering the fixtures they are playing. How would you describe that, Kevin De Bruyne also? What can you say about him pulling out from the Belgian squad?
Oh, yes, and I need to mention that his pulling out of the October international break is not limited to that. He has also requested that even the November international break, I heard, he should still not be considered for selection. So 2 international breaks till next day, apparently. So there is various arguments, like you've pointed out. There is the side of, okay, is there something really going on within the Belgium squad setup that we are not privy to? Does he know more than we do, and because of that he's trying to disassociate himself with whatever might be going on within the squad and all? Or could it really be him genuinely realizing that, I'm already getting old, I think it is time I start managing my body, and while I'm still playing, get the best of my performances by not playing all the games, so that the ones I play, I'll be able to play at the very top level. And he, as one of the players who has been very much vocal about this newly expanded Champions League format, and complaining about the many matches they have to play, also considering the fact that there's a Club World Cup coming up right after the end of the regular season next year, and also it could be that reason, and it could be the unrest in the Belgian squad.
But the Belgian coach has come out to say when it really counts, the World Cup, De Bruyne would be there.
Well, let's see if Kevin De Bruyne would honor the calls from the Belgian national team. But this is how far the size of our package would be on today's edition of The Pitch. And thank you so much to everyone who has joined me. And thank you especially to Toby and Seth who have joined me on the show. Well, definitely leave you in the English Premier League game. Everton against Newcastle, 28 minutes into that game. And it's still 0-0 between both sides. Till we meet on Monday on that's a scoreboard in 15 and a scoreboard in 30. I am SAMIES, your sports captain. I say do enjoy the rest of the day and bye for now.